Hey, Dada's Old Legos here. We've got ourselves a little, like, Warthog style vehicle where you've got this, like, I suppose, machine gun on the back that can swivel and be aimed up or down. And, of course, the wheels. And two seats up front, a couple places to put gear or whatnot, or hook up things. I think there was supposed to be one on this side too, but it might have came off. But yeah, that's the build. We're going to go ahead and start deconstructing it. These people I did not have actually on the build. I'm not sure who owned this vehicle. I think it was the good guys. But I've forgotten if there was an individual that we were having this be their car or something, or their group's car. So we'll go ahead and start taking it apart, making it look like a car out in the yard without the wheels, right? So we'll go ahead and start just taking it down piece by piece. Now this is definitely like, I think the Halo Warthog, my attempt at making that. I think there's a lot of other vehicles, like open top Jeep type style things that are in the real world that these things could be based off of. I don't know. I'm not a car person or a military person who knows like all those things. I've had students who knew like the name of all of the things used in all the different eras and wars, but for me it was more of a, I just saw some of them in some games, recognized them. I do know Jeep. Yeah, we got our swivel thing here. It could be aimed up or down due to this little sliding mechanism that we had set up there, where we just had one of those double ones and something next to it. Okay. And that's our turret, mostly deconstructed. I think this was like a sight, which is actually not half bad attempt at doing one with the parts that we had there. Okay, interesting. There we go. Definitely, it's a pretty big one in proportion to the Lego people, but you know, with these things, portions are gonna be off, right? It's like some old abstract art. Or not old. Abstract art's new. There's some old art where the portions are just not quite right. Trying to think. I don't know art well enough to be able to cite one or anything. I don't think I do. Maybe one will come to mind though, as I'm doing the deconstruct. Yeah, definitely this is another thing where it's like, oh, this was inspired by this thing. I'm gonna make it look as much as like it as I can, but I can't get it to be perfect, so we're just gonna accept it. Though I do like how it turned out. I thought that this was one of my builds where I was like, oh, it actually kind of looks like the thing. Oftentimes I'm like, oh, it was inspired lightly by that thing. But this looks like, in my mind, a pretty close rendition. At least for me. As someone who doesn't know cars very well. I do know my games, my video game vehicles decently compared to just your average person, because, well, I play video games, right? Oh, this was kind of cool, the little bumper, how that got built. Those corner pieces. One of them slightly off. I'm assuming that was not on purpose, but maybe it was. Because I know that the vehicles in game, they have some slightly different hued parts to give them like texture. Because this This was before ray tracing Halo. So it was one of those things where they would paint on the shading onto the texture of the thing. Yeah, I'm realizing now that I'm talking to the future. You guys are gonna have mostly ray tracing even in the simplest of games. But like, think about the old ones. It's different. It's different back then. They couldn't have light be simulated in the video game world. It just took too much processing power. They just needed to know the names of the characters, be able to display the most basic information and the rules of how the parts interact. Light. No, definitely pushing it with simulating that on the game like Halo. It's kind of funny how they do all these little tricks when you're playing the games. You don't even realize how they did it, how they got you to not realize they've reused the same thing here and there, the same asset. You know, why have two different files when you can have the same file and just point at it a little differently? Save some space. Yeah, there's some cool feats where people just kind of push that idea to the limit of like how low of information do you need to build a game. There's like some coding challenges and stuff I've seen people talk about. It's a cool idea. I like it. It's kind of artsy almost. It's creative, I would say. There we go. Got the red piece loose there. The gray. Now we're getting closer to just the core of the car. The center does not have a chocolatey center. Okay. Those corporations, they're always in your brain to some degree, right? Those mottos. Okay. Yeah, it's funny when you get to the last few bits, it's like, wow, those are really... I didn't expect to see that in there. Like this piece in the center of the car. Sometimes you think you're just gonna have like blocks on the inside. You're like, those are not just blocks on the inside. Nope. What? Okay. Kind of random. But it works, I suppose. Whatever I was doing there. It worked. It sure did. And that one is actually a pretty functional one, so it's kind of cool. Thank you for joining me.